Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, That Model Railway Guy, and welcome to an exciting video today because I've got something a little bit different in store for you. First of all, this video has very kindly been sponsored by Specialist Aggregates. I'll be talking more about them a bit later on in the video, and if you haven't already, please do consider subscribing to the channel, especially if you'd like to see more model railway videos in the future. But yeah, I think it's no secret that I very much have a thing for small industrial locomotives. I grew up volunteering on a railway that used a lot of them, and in the last decade or so, we've seen interest in industrial modelling become much more mainstream, with models like the Hornby 040 Peckett, for example. In fact, it was the release of those models which very much brought me back into the hobby after some time away. And now we have loads of different industrial locos to choose from, all made to a really high standard. But with so many to choose from, how do you figure out which is the best and what are the pros and cons of each? Well, today I'm going to be ranking my top 10 industrial locos, so that if you're in the market for one, you know what to look out for. Now, this is just going to be for 00 gauge, since that's what the majority of my collection covers. But also, don't forget that this is just my personal opinion, so it's absolutely fine if you don't agree with me. And of course, I'm not telling anybody what models you should or shouldn't buy. I actually think all the locos on this list are pretty good, but at the end of the day, I'm just trying to help you make a more informed decision. So with that said, let's dive in and try to find the ultimate industrial locomotive, starting at the bottom and working our way up. Kicking things off in 10th place is the Hornby 040 Sentinel. It's a neat little diesel shunter, and while I do have a soft spot for it, there are a few things holding it back. First, the good though. I really like how compact and versatile this model is. It'll fit on pretty much any layout, whether that's an industrial dockyard or a larger layout with a few spare sidings to shunt in. There's also some nice variety, with Hornby having produced both cranked and uncranked versions of this model, which is a nice touch. It's a relatively affordable model too, compared to some of the other locos in this video, so it's a good budget-friendly option, being as low as under £60 in some places. There's also a newer 060 version available as well, which is a great alternative if you want something a bit bigger. That said, there are a few drawbacks that keep it from ranking any higher for me. The biggest issue being that it has a real tendency to stall at very low speeds. This isn't ideal for a shunter, and it gets frustrating very quickly, to the extent that I've actually fitted this particular model with a stay alive. It also feels a bit plasticky. While it looks decent enough, it doesn't have the weight or the solid feel of some of the more refined models on the market, and it feels very delicate, especially with the thin plastic on the sides here, so yeah, it's not one you'll want to handle too much. And then we come to the design. Honestly, it's just a bit of a nightmare. Accessing the internals isn't as straightforward as it should be, which does make maintenance and modifications quite a hassle. And if you're thinking about adding DCC, be warned there's very little space inside, and you do have to use Hornby's special 4-pin decoder or hardwire something in yourself. Overall, the Hornby Sentinel is a nice model for what it is. It's an affordable, characterful little diesel that fits well into industrial settings, but those stalling issues and the tricky design do hold it back, which is why it takes the bottom slot on this list. In 9th place is the Hornby Austerity. It's certainly not the flashiest model out there, but like its real-life counterpart, it's a good, reliable workhorse that's earned its place over a long period of time. One of the biggest positives for me is that this is just a solid, old, faithful model. It's been around for decades now, its origins lying with Daypole, and while by today's standards it's nothing groundbreaking, it does the job. The slow speed performance is actually really good, which is something you want in a shunter. It makes for much more realistic operation when crawling around sidings, and it just makes the loco feel more controllable overall. Another plus is that these can be picked up fairly cheaply. Because the tooling has been around for so long, there are plenty of them available second-hand, so if you're looking for a budget-friendly way to add an industrial steam loco to your layout, this is a solid option. Despite its age, the model still looks okay considering how simple the prototypes were anyway. Some of the more recent releases do a decent job of freshening up the appearance with a nice livery, which goes a long way to helping it fit in with more modern models. That said, it is showing its age, which is why it's so far down on this list. Compared to newer models, the detailing is quite chunky, there's very few separately fitted parts, and just in general the whole Loco feels a bit outdated now. There's also no factory-fitted DCC socket either, so you will definitely have to hardwire this model if you want to run it on a digital layout. Although I have done a couple of tutorial videos walking you through the steps to do just that. And of course, in comparison to more modern models, this one doesn't have any real special features like a firebox LED. Not surprising given its age, but it does still have to be taken into account. All in all, the Hornby Austerity is still a decent little Loco. It's a no-frills, reliable runner that performs well at slow speeds, and it's a testament to the design that it even features on this list at all. But I do suspect that will all change once the Akira scale Austerity is released in the future. In 8th place is the Hatton's 040 Barclay. This model was a fantastic follow-up to their P-Class, and while it's not perfect, there is a lot to like about it. First off, the variety on offer is brilliant. There are loads of liveries and variations to choose from, which means that you can find something that fits pretty much any industrial setting, whether that's a colliery, a steelworks, or even a preserved railway. There are also differences to the tooling, with both 14-inch and 16-inch variants available, and the option of having an open back cab as well. Since the demise of Hatton's, Akira Scale have stepped in to produce the latest batch of these models, so this Loco will continue to be available, which is great news, and it'll be exciting to see if they make any updates to it in the future. Price-wise, I think it's a really good deal for what you're getting too. It's well detailed, it runs nicely, and it doesn't break the bank compared to some of the other small steam locos out there, coming in at just under £100. If you're after a compact and characterful industrial loco, it's definitely worth considering. That said, there are a few things that stopped it placing higher for me. The design is a bit fiddly. Disassembly isn't the easiest, with a few delicate parts that can be easily broken if you're not careful. Only the very smallest 6-pin decoders will fit into this model too, which does limit your options quite a bit and makes fitting this model for DCC a little bit more complicated. For example, not even the Zemo MX616N will fit, and that's only 13mm long. And while it's not a deal breaker, this Loco doesn't have a built-in speaker or, like the Austerity, a firebox LED. These are features that are becoming more common on newer models and shows just how far the hobby has progressed since these were first released 7 years ago. Overall, the Hatton's Barclay is a great little Loco with plenty of variety, a fair price, and a bright future under Akira scale, but the fiddly design and the decoder limitations do keep it from ranking any higher. In 7th place is the Hornby B2 Peckett. This model built off the earlier success of Hornby's W4 Peckett, which I'll be talking about a little bit later on. While for the most part the B2 has the same high standard, there are some drawbacks in my opinion. Starting with the positives though is the variety of liveries. Hornby have done a great job offering plenty of choices for this Loco, and they learnt from the W4 that an attractive livery can make a really big difference to sales. Another big advantage here is the die-cast metal construction, which for me is what managed to put it just above the Hatton's Barclay. It's definitely got a lot more weight to it, which in turn gives it a more premium feel. That added heft should, in theory, help with traction and smooth running. That said, it does still stall occasionally, even with an extra set of wheels and the longer wheelbase. The performance itself is really smooth, but unfortunately I always feel like I'm on edge since it suffers from occasional hesitations at low speeds. Inside, space is extremely tight, actually even more restricted than the W4, which is saying something. Adding DCC is fine if you have a small enough decoder, but for adding sound and a stay alive, you're going to have to work with very limited room. And like the Barclay before, there's no provision for a speaker or firebox LED. Again, this model is a few years old now, so these features are more common on newer models, but it does still have to be taken into account. Overall, the B2 is another solid industrial loco from Hornby. It's well built, it looks great, and it benefits from a die-cast body, which does put it a step above some of the plastic competition. But the limited space inside and that occasional stalling problem do put it at 7th place for me. Coming in at 6th place is the Hornby Ruston 48DS. This is one of the smallest locos in my collection, but don't let its size fool you, it's a cracking little runner with a lot going for it. First off, it's absolutely perfect for micro layouts. If you're working with minimum space or want to add some character to a compact industrial scene, this loco is an ideal choice. Its tiny footprint means that it can navigate even the tightest of curves with ease, so it can take whatever your layout throws at it. Despite its size though, it runs really well. It's smooth and, importantly, it doesn't stall. That was actually what put it ahead of the B2 Peckett for me. I was really struggling to decide what order these two locos should be in, and that was the deciding factor. It also comes with a match truck too, so that gives you some extra pickups if desired, although the vast majority of modelers don't actually seem to need this. For such a tiny model, it's got a surprising amount of weight to it, with the base, or rather the chassis, being metal. That really does help with the stability, making it feel much more solid than you might expect from a loco of this size. That said, it is fairly basic, and there's not a huge amount of detail compared to some of the other models, although that is admittedly more down to the prototype than anything else. We don't get working lights or anything like that though, and the space for the decoder is again limited, so you will have to use the cab space if you want to add a speaker or stay alive. Again though, this is to be expected from a tiny model like this. Overall though, the Hornby Ruston is a fantastic little shunter that's perfect for small layouts and tight spaces. It's a reliable runner that performs well and doesn't suffer from the stalling issues that I would expect from a loco of this size. But with its simple detailing and limited features, it just misses out on a higher spot in the rankings. Before we continue, I do just want to say a big thank you to Specialist Aggregates for sponsoring today's video. If you're working on a layout at the moment and you're serious about realism, and I mean like, proper era-accurate, location-specific detail, then their true-to-scale range is really worth a look. Lots of us spend time making sure that our rolling stock and things like the buildings are just right, but when it comes to the ballast and the ground textures, it can be hard to get the look that you're looking for. I know I struggled with it myself in the past, but the true to scale range from Specialist Aggregates has made it so easy to get the results that I'm looking for. They've got an amazing selection of ballast and ground covers, even wagon loads as well, that are designed to match real world locations as closely as they can. From mainline rails and sort of dirt farmyard tracks and even a scrapyard sort of location. Having spoken to them, they've got extensive knowledge of the railway industry, but they've also worked in the film industry for years as well, so you get a really nice mix of the both disciplines there, and they're now bringing that straight to our model railways, which is fantastic. If you want to check out their products for yourself, well, head over to truetoscale.co.uk. There's a link to that in the description too. And yeah, I've used their products myself on my layouts and I'm really happy with them, so I think you will be too. Thanks again to Specialist Aggregates, and now let's get on with the video. In 5th place comes one of the newest locos on the list. It's the Rapido Y7. This is a lovely little model full of charm and character, and while it's not without its flaws, it definitely earns its spot. First off, I have to say, it's just a beautiful model. It's got an almost toy-like industrial steam loco look, but with all the fine detailing that you'd expect from Rapido. There's something really appealing about it, and it's one of those locos that just looks fantastic on the layout. One big plus is that it comes pre-fitted with a speaker, which is a really nice touch. If you're planning on running it with DCC sound, that's one less thing to worry about fitting in, and it's great to see this included as standard. Unlike a lot of the industrial models we've looked at so far, it's a loco that fits a very specific role too. If you're modelling the North Eastern Railway or an industrial scene in that region, this is an ideal choice rather than going with something a bit more generic. There aren't many models out there that capture this particular niche, so if that's what you're after, the Y7 is a must-have. That said, it does have a few little drawbacks. The wheelbase is quite rigid in my opinion, which can be a bit of an issue over bumpy industrial track. In my review, I did find it had a tendency to stall at slow speeds when you have the sound on. Careful track laying and maintenance does help, but it is something to be aware of. Inside, the space is very limited, which is to be expected from a small loco like this. If you want to add a stay alive capacitor to help with the running though, you're going to have a tough time finding room for it. That is a little bit of a shame, as of course it could have helped smooth out some of those stalling issues. And while it looks fantastic, the outer shell is plastic, which allows for finer detail, but you do lose out on a bit of extra weight there. That said, it still feels well put together, but it doesn't have quite the same solid feel as some of the other locos with metal bodies. Overall, the Rapido Y7 is a stunning little locomotive with plenty of charm. The detailing is fantastic, the pre-fitted speaker is a great feature, and I think this is going to be a very popular little loco. But those stalling issues do just hold it back for me, which is why it's sitting here in the middle of the list. In fourth place is the Planet Industrial's Kerr Stuart Victory. This is a bit of a hidden gem. Maybe not as well known as some of the others on this list, but it's an absolutely brilliant model in its own right. The biggest thing that sets it apart is how well it runs. The gearing on this model is fantastic, making it one of the smoothest, most controllable slow speed runners I've ever come across. For shunting, it's practically perfect. It creeps along beautifully and without hesitation, which is exactly what you want. While the outer shell is plastic, there's a lot of die-cast metal inside, which makes it the heaviest of all the models in this video. That extra weight gives it great stability, making it feel really solid on the track. You don't have to worry about it bouncing around or losing contact, it just feels planted. Another big plus is how customizable it is. This is a loco that you can really make your own, as I have here by adding the nameplates and some of the included toolboxes and details. It's a great base model for those who like to personalise their stock and want to create their very own industrial workhorse. That said, if you don't do any customisation, it can feel a little bit plain straight out of the box in comparison to some of the other locos. There's not even a coal load included, for example. I've added that myself, so while the customization may be a plus for some people, it does really benefit from that extra work to bring it to life. It does have a speaker, but it's missing a firebox LED, which would have been a nice touch considering how much space this model has. And the choice of liveries is quite limited, although I appreciate that with this being Planet Industrial's first ready-to-run model, that they didn't want to go too crazy. Overall though, the Kerr Stuart Victory is an absolute top tier runner, with some of the best slow speed performance I've seen in a model full stop. It's heavy, reliable, and for those willing to put in a little extra work, it's a real winner. In third place, it's the Hornby W4 Peckett. This cute little 040 loco is really what kicked off the industrial loco craze a decade ago now, and though it's been around for a while, in my opinion it's still one of the best industrial locos out there. The biggest thing going for the W4 is that it really set the standard for small industrial steam locos. When Hornby released this, it was such a surprise and so well received that it continues to be an incredibly popular model to this day, which makes it hard to beat. Hornby absolutely nailed the design of this, and the model was responsible for the creation of lots of micro and industrial layouts, and on a personal note, it was this model that got me back into the hobby too. Another major plus is its die-cast construction. Despite its small size, the W4 has a nice bit of weight to it, which really helps with the running and also makes this feel like a more premium model. You can definitely tell the difference when handling it compared to some of the lighter locos. With this being so popular over the years, Hornby have done it in a huge range of liveries, which is always a bonus. And yet, no matter what colour scheme they put on it, somehow the W4 always looks amazing. That said, it is starting to get on a little bit. It's still a great model, but with newer locos pushing the boundaries even further with regards to detailing and extra features, the W4 doesn't quite have the same wow factor it once did. And then there's the 4-pin decoder issue again, so you'll either have to use the specific Hornby decoder or hardwire something in yourself. Fitting sound is also a challenge for such a small loco, there's barely any space inside, so adding a speaker requires some creative thinking or a serious compromise. That said though, the Hornby W4 is still one of the best small industrial steam locos on the market. It's well built, it's reliable, and it's stood the test of time, making it an easy choice for anyone thinking about creating an industrial scene. It definitely deserves a space on the podium, but with new models improving all the time, a respectable third is where this loco sits. In second place on the list then, it's the Rapido Hunslet, and I do have to admit I think my personal preference for the prototype is perhaps having a little bit of an effect here. Regardless though, it is a brilliant little model that gets a lot of things right, and it's easy to see why it's been so well received. First off, it's a fantastic runner. It's smooth, it's reliable, and it handles slow speeds really well, which is definitely a plus with this kind of model. There's a great selection of liveries available too, with more on the way for a second run, and as we've come to expect from Rapido, the decoration is superb. Another big plus is that we do have a firebox LED in the Hunslet, which really brings the model to life. Inside there's a Next 18 socket, which makes it easy to convert to DCC, and Rapido have also included a pre-fitted speaker, which is a big bonus. If you're into sound-fitted models, this makes life a lot easier, as you don't have to worry about finding space for a speaker, it's already there and ready to go. However, there are a couple of things that hold it back from being perfect. Like the Y7, the wheelbase is quite rigid, which might be an issue if your track isn't perfect. Having spoken to Rapido about this though, apparently the chassis does have some springiness to it, but you might need to open out the holes in the coupling rods to get the most effect out of it. While the detailing is excellent and it feels well put together, it is mostly plastic and doesn't have quite the same weight as some of the die-cast models. That said, it does feel perfectly adequate for the vast majority of uses, and I've never had an issue with it being unable to pull a train. Overall, the Rapido Hunslet is a brilliant little loco though. It's a fantastic runner, and it's got all the modern features that you'd expect, which really do bring it to life. It's definitely one of the best industrial locos available at the moment, at least in my opinion anyway. But there was only one clear winner. That, of course, is the Dapol Hawthorne Leslie, which takes a well-deserved first place. This is, in my opinion, the best industrial loco currently available. It hits all the right marks, and yet it doesn't seem to get the attention it deserves. There's no denying that this is a superb runner. Like the Kerr Stewart victory earlier, the gearing is spot on for slow speed control, making it an absolute joy to shunt with. It creeps along beautifully, it's nice and controllable, and in my experience it's very unlikely to stall. That is because the front axle is actually sprung, which helps it to maintain contact with the track and reduces the risk of stalling, especially over point work. Combined with its smooth running, this makes it one of the smallest yet most reliable locos on this list. The build quality is excellent too, with die-cast construction throughout that gives it a nice solid weight. It feels premium and sturdy, and that extra mass helps with the stability on track. And like the Rapido Hunslet, Dapol have also packed in a load of extra features. The pre-fitted speaker is absolutely fantastic for a loco of this size, and the firebox contains 2 LEDs for some variation in colour and a nice flickering effect. The roof of the cab is also held on by magnets, making it removable so you can easily add some crew figures if desired. And then there's the price. Considering what you're getting, this loco offers fantastic value for money. It's well spec'd, well built and runs beautifully, and you can pick these up for under £100, which is just incredible. If I had a minor niggle, some of the liveries are a bit bright in comparison to what you'd normally expect. They are a bit vibrant straight out of the box. Although that said, the general lining and decoration is fantastic, and you could always tone them down with some weathering, which would be appropriate for an industrial loco. The only thing I would add to this model would be a stay alive, just to make it absolutely foolproof. That said, none of the other locos on this list had a built-in stay alive either, so I don't feel like I can knock off points for that. But yeah, generally Dapol have done a fantastic job with the Hawthorne Leslie. While the other locos had their own individual benefits, Dapol have covered all bases here to give modelers the full package, and it really shows. What an outstanding model, and like I said, I do think it's a little bit of a shame that Dapol haven't got more attention for this, because it really is head and shoulders above the rest in my opinion. That isn't the case here though. It's a very well-deserved first place for Dapol and the Hawthorne Leslie on the top spot of the podium. A big congratulations to them. There's no prize I'm afraid, but you can guarantee that this loco will be seeing a lot of action on my layout. So that is it for my top 10 industrial locos. It was really fascinating to compare all these models and see how they stacked up against each other. Do you agree with my rankings? Would you change anything around, or are there models that I don't have that you think deserve to be featured on this list? Let me know down in the comments, and let me know if you've enjoyed this style of video too. Maybe I can do some more like this in the future. In the meantime though, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more model railway videos in the future. That is it for today though, so thank you so much for watching everyone, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!